music. So that Harry James solo should sound something more like that. A lot of vibrato, that's the way the players played back then, but Harry had a singing sound, really fast vibrato, and that's the way all the players played. I mean, if you played like that now, on a Gordon Goodwin chart or something, it'd sound pretty stupid, kind of corny. But knowing a little bit about that is something that's been important in my career. So I've actually been on film calls where they said, "Oh, Harry James." And that's just a film director trying to be hip. Hey, what's the Harry James record? He doesn't know what he doesn't means a lot of vibrato. And other times they'll say, "Oh, Miles Davis." They just want to harmonize it. So I had to play Stardust, I remember, in this key on a movie called It's All Harry James. And some of my other colleagues that have had to play stuff like that, and it's been wrong. No, it needs to be this or that. So I don't do all this stuff great, but I can do it all pretty well, convincing enough to fool a director. So anyway, he was very good about teaching me about stylistic things. My very first audition I ever took for a job was at Disneyland. Maybe I was 19 years old, maybe 20, and they have a Christmas parade. So they hire all these bands for seasonal work. Some student bands, some union groups. And the first band I ever did was I was in a monk. I wore a lot of really stupid outfits. I was a monk. I wore a monk outfit, with a hood and everything, and we marched around and do all this choreography. And I wore purple tights, and I'm wearing them now actually. But watching a grown man get into purple tights is quite a sight. That's another story for another day. But my audition was, I got there, there's a bunch of monkey munch just like you in the front row, and they say, "Open the packet of music, sir," and then it's all official, and open the packet of music. Now, don't open it yet, don't turn the first page, okay, and now, look at it. You've got 30 seconds to check it out. There was a fanfare or something. Turn it over, it's like a big band lead trumpet part. There was Basin Street Blues. There was some schmaltzing of it. It was all the stuff that my teacher showed me. Not one time did they say, "Hey, can you play double high C?" It was never asked. It's, "Can you read this music? Can you play this stuff convincing?" So I got the gig. And I worked there for 10 years, basically off and on, doing seasonal work, and I ended up subbing in the Disneyland band, and I got a full-time job there, and then I decided, the tights were itching, so I quit. I had enough, so I worked there 10 years off and on, and it was kind of a feeding ground for trumpet players. There's a lot of trumpet players working there, and we would get together to play duets, and some players, maybe not, could do some things I couldn't do, and some people that I could do. And so there's a lot of classical players, high note players, a little bit of everything kind of there. So we practiced it. It was a real learning ground for me. The best way to improve on one of these, any instrument, is to sit next to somebody that plays better than you. You've ever discovered that? The second you sit next to somebody, you play better instantly. Because you go, whoa, up to, So it was like that at Disneyland. There was a lot of really great players there when I was coming up. So it was a good training ground for me. Audition for a cruise ship, same kind of thing. They wanted to know if I could play music, not if I could play high. Now, the fact that I had this double high C in my belt was a good thing to have in your tool belt, because I have to do that sometimes too. So what I'm saying is if you can spread yourself out stylistically a little bit where you're pretty convincing, your chances of working as a professional player. Who wants to play professionally here? Yeah, quite a few. The skills involved with that. What would you think the most important skill would be to be like a professional musician?
Reading.
Because all the other stuff, obviously, you have to be able to play the instrument. That's just the job description. But I know trumpet players that can play the Arvin's book from cover to cover and hit double high C standing on their head, and I don't want to work on it. Because they can't play anything stylistically correct, and they can't read. I know a bunch of players like that. They're like monkeys. You can be book smart and not be very socially, accepted. And it's like that trumpet players. So I know a lot of tech. So it's about, about playing music, interpreting music, being able to read a piece of music first time and sound convincing. We all make mistakes, obviously. Something's very difficult. Not every piece of music is meant to be sight-read, obviously. Trumpet concerto is something you learn. But every day, like meat and potatoes, big band chart, should be able to whip through just about anything that comes in front of us and be 95% the first time. You figure if you're going to go in, let's say you're playing a Broadway show and you get sick, and your substitute's not available, and you got to call this guy right here. Okay? He's not going to get to rehearse the show. He's going to have to sit down in front of 2,000 people, sat read the show. That's where the reading skill needs to be for a professional level player, a working player. Unless you become a big jazz star or something, or something like that, which the chances of that are actually very slim. So most of us are going to be like a meat and potatoes kind of working journeyman musicians. Any questions on anything? I'm going to go into some trumpet stuff in a minute here about the music business, about any of the stuff we talked about. Okay. So anyway, I learned a lot about music when I was a kid. I did not learn how to play this thing correctly. Now I had natural chops, and I was doing a few things that I could just do by luck of the draw, actually. Some of us, you probably all know somebody that can hit a double high C on the trumpet that doesn't even play the instrument. The drummer in my high school band could play a double high C. And it pissed all the other trumpet players off. Didn't even know the fingers. He'd go, Has he ever practiced? No. Is his corner strong? No. He didn't, he figured out the combination of the C. He guessed. 32, 36, 9, boom. Wow, got it. One of the guys that figured it out. The rest of us, and I kind of figured it out already, but a lot of people find it by practicing. Concept. Some of us, I have a chip tooth that I learned to play on. It might have had something to do with this. I don't know. So a lot of factors in play here. The size of your lips, your oral cavity. Some people are designed to do it a little easier, maybe find that combination a little sooner. And other people, they find it by practicing and experimenting. And I know many players that had nothing when they were young and then practice their butts off their whole lives and then are wailing now, so it doesn't come easy. I got this one little gift early in my career, but the rest of the trumpet thing has been very difficult for me. I was not a natural musician by any means. I had to work my butt off to become better and listen to good players and things like that. So I'll say the things he didn't show me. One of the problems that I developed from not knowing how to breathe and support was this. I herniated my neck. It's not that weird. And I was always self-conscious about the way this looked, too. In school, I kind of played with my head. And I'll tell you a funny story about this in a little bit. But that's one of the things I did, because I didn't know how to support. I was probably playing like this. I was playing and that's what it felt like when I played anyway. And I used these for pumping air over lungs. I was like a human accordion, marching accordion. And I used to pull these things off of the horn. I would pull these rings off of the horn. So that's how much pressure. And he never addressed any of that. So I'm going, is he a really good teacher? He's watching me turn blue, watching my neck explode, me pulling these things off. I cut my lip constantly because when I first learned to play this instrument in that drum group, they said, when you want to play high notes, you stretch your lips back. Like this. And they took a balloon and they blew it up. And they went, see, they made a higher note. Oh, that makes sense. So that's how I did it. And I thought it was great for pictures, bad for lips. So I go like this, I'm pulling on this, so I got teeth and lips and a cookie cutter. What do you think's going to lose? So I'm cramming the thing like this. I was constantly cutting my lips. I'd be a marching band. I'd look and there'd be blood in my mouthpiece. Next day I'd have a scab. And I have to pull it off of here. And so this went on a lot, with me as a kid, being plagued with cuts and stuff. And I remember somebody telling me one time to put salt on that. If that person walked in here right now, I would beat them in front of me. That hurt. But it does help heal, so that was the point. So anyway, and there's a few other things I discovered as I went on, got a little bit older, and I started discovering some other people. See, another thing my teacher would never do, like James Stamp was teaching trumpet at the time, and Bobby Shue was in LA around teaching, and John Kleinman, who just played with the other Philharmonic, and he would never send me to any of these other teachers. I remember going, hey, about this guy James Stamp. He sort of goes, oh, he's one of those damn mouthpiece buzzers. You want to play the horn, you want to play the mouthpiece. My teacher was like, so old school. That's a question. I heard he's a good teacher. So I never went and saw anybody else. And maybe one of these teachers would look at me and say, hey, you might want to take the death grip off the horn. Maybe taught me a couple of things about how to play more correctly. But so he never addressed these issues with me. And I think I know why, though. I don't think that he didn't care. I think he looked at me as a student that had something I could do, and maybe he was afraid to tell me I was doing it wrong, because then maybe I wouldn't be able to